Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello friends, Namaskar. I, Dr. Bhavna Trivedi, an Assistant Professor of English, welcome you all to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University video lecture series. In the last session, we discussed translation studies, and under that, we discussed importance and relevance of translation. That is unit number 2 of paper 105, translation studies. We discussed the definition of translation and what is source language and target language. We discussed the idea given by Sri Aurobindo of translation taking Nama, Rupa and Swarupa. We also discussed how this age of ICT actually is built upon the great works of translation. And today, continuing the same unit, we will be discussing the relevance of translation taking different fields. As you know, language is a very complex phenomenon. In the previous sessions also, we discussed language is a sign. Language is a symbol. The idea of Ferdinand de Saussure. So, language itself carries a lot of connotative, you can say bag of meanings. And when you talk about your language, it reflects your background. So, language is inseparable to ourselves, right? It reflects our culture. So, in that case, translation studies actually, provides us a lot of opportunities to connect different cultures. So, we can say we can study different cultures, right? Through the means of translation, and by translation only we can come to know about different cultures of the world. So in that case, culture itself is a very complex phenomenon, right? So when a book is translated, right, actually book is a reflection of culture, of written in so and so source language, right? So each and every book reflects that particular culture. So translating a book is actually translating a culture. So for a translator, it is a very challenging job. So for a translator, it is very important to get highly updated with that particular culture, in which that particular source text is there. So cultural background of text is very important for a translator while translating a text. So translation is not merely a kind of, you can say, from translating one word to or one language to another language, right? But it is quite much more than that, because both language as well as culture are complex phenomena. So in that case, we can say translators are cultural ambassadors, right? If we see, right, in this age of multilingual age, right, any book which is written in a regional language, right, actually addresses or comes up with that particular provincial sensibilities. But when that particular book is translated, it reaches to the larger audience. Say for example, in the last session we discussed that particular Booker Prize winner Heart Lamp. Now that particular book is a collection of Kannada stories reflecting the sensibilities of a particular group of people, right? But by translating that particular book by Deepa Bhaste, that particular book could reach the larger audience. Because the things are universal, human sensibilities are universal, and it should be reached to larger audience. So in that case, translation helps us a lot to reach to the larger audience. So we can say we cannot separate ourselves today, right? In this world we need to keep abreast with each and every field of the world, and in that case translation becomes an essential component of our existence. If we see in context of language, actually translation allows us, right, to compare two different languages, similarities and differences of both the languages, that is source text and target text. And in that way we can enhance almost all of our verbal skills as well as communication skills, right? Because it is very important for us today in this multilingual world to understand different languages and the contextual references. Especially if you want to walk with the world, it is very important for you to understand that to upgrade your language up to that level, right? So you can walk with the world. So in short, translation helps us a lot to sharpen our verbal skills, and by translation only we can come to know about the ontology of both the text, source text and target text. Ontology in that case is the functionality of language, right? So by translation we can definitely study language very in its more, we can say, in its core sense, semiotically. Semiotics, we also discussed that particular thing. Semiotics is the study of symbols, sign or symbol, and taking all the branches of language, right? We can say through translation we can study language syntactically, semantically and pragmatically. These three are the, we can say, segments of semiotics or semiology, right? Syntactics is the study of structure, semantics is the study of meanings, and pragmatics is the study of usage of language. And translation actually allows us an opportunity to to explore language in all these directions, right? Now, not only that, today we are living in this, the world of globalization, right? The world has become too shrunk, we can say, right? And we need to interact with each and every sphere of life. So, with the increasing of our interaction with the world, translation has played a vital role, we can say. And through translation only, we can interact with all the spheres of life, right? Translation actually helps a lot to keep ourselves abreast with the different world affairs, right? And it is only through translation we can come across different cultures as well as different affairs of the world with which we are not directly connected, but nowadays it could be possible only through translation. So in this age of in this multilingual age, if we can say that interpreters and translators, they have got a lot of opportunities, right? Professionally, if we see, because they are highly welcome to translate different languages to main course languages, right? Not only that, in the world of news, travels and films, we can see translation has played very important role, right? We can have even international news in just in blink only. We can have international news today, right? And the translation actually has helped in this segment, right? Very regional news, also very interior news or anything the happenings happen in very interior areas, right? They become very very soon, they very quickly we come across of all such a global affairs due to translation. So translation actually connect us with all the we can say different corners of the world. Same way, if you want to travel, right, your we can say far-flung traveling has become very easy and comfortable due to translation, right? You can very easily get information about that particular your destination of traveling, and you can have all the ins and outs of that particular place and destination through translation. And even this modern technology has helped you a lot to get this particular thing through translation, and that is very very handy to you also, right? So to acquire information of so and so place and so matter is not nowadays difficult, right? And the credit goes to translation. Even you can very even villagers nowadays, you must be knowing, right, are quite they are familiar with international films also, because films have got that particular subtitles with different languages, right? So you can have even foreign film, right, with subtitles, and in that way you can very nicely study the culture of that particular film, right, and understand the world of that particular film. So in case of education or even entertainment, translation has played vital role, right? So due to it is only through translation we can have different exposures of the world, right, of different cultures also, right? Now to understand the relevance of translation, right, we must understand few terms, right? And the first one is author centered, right? Any book that is author centered, we can say generally translators base their translation choices on the symbolic capital of the source text author, right? So the text which are widely read, generally translators prefer to translate those books, right? Reader-centered translation. The meaning of the text is not just, in that case, reader text translation or reader textbook is the book where meaning is not just the text, but it is a result of the interaction between text and reader. And text-centered book is the book, right, where meaning is understood beyond the idea of the reference, like autobiographical reference or historical reference or any other such a references. And that particular idea you might be knowing, right, is the post-structuralist idea even by Roland Barthes after that launching of the death of the author. So meaning is not there in text, but it is while reading, that particular process of reading actually provides that meaning, and it is up to the reader. Intralingual is something that is a rewording or a rephrase within the same language, right? Within the same language, whatever is rewording or rephrasing is intralingual translation, or interlingual translation is a translation from one language to another language. And intersemiotic translation is translation of any verbal sign to a non-verbal sign, right? Any type of word is translated into non-verbal sign in the form of a music or picture, right? Or inter-genre translation is translation from one genre to another genre, right? Now taking this particular thing, we can say translation is very, very relevant to each and every sphere of life. And especially we have already seen how translation is useful in language development, taking vocabulary, grammar, communication skills, or for other kind of fostering language awareness. In the world of globalization and business, education, everywhere, you cannot go without translation, right? And as far as a cultural exchange is concerned, we can say it is only through translation, right? We can very nicely exchange the cultural background or cultural values. In Indian context, if we see, right, translation has become very highly relevant if we trace the history of our literature and culture, right? So we can find translation has played a very significant role, taking historical evaluation and its contribution to cultural and linguistic diversity, right? India, as you know, is a multilingual country, and we find two broad categories, families of languages, that is Indo-Aryan and Dravidian. Today we have 22 live languages and 15 different scripts and hundreds of mother tongues and thousands of dialects. Right, if we trace the history of our culture and its contribution taking translation, we can say up to 19th century, right? Previously we had that Shruti Parampara, you must be knowing, and up to 19th century Indian literature consisted only of translation, adaptation, interpretations and retellings. Not only literary works, even the other areas of studies like other sciences, applied sciences and pure sciences, right, based on astronomy and architecture and metallurgy, travel, religion, right, poems, all kinds of different fields, right, they all were found in Sanskrit, Pali and Prakruti, and they all helped a lot, right, to maintain a cultural part and enriched people with knowledge. So it is not only literary text but different fields of knowledge, books from different fields of knowledge have also contributed a lot to enrich our culture and our language. And most of the ancient writers, if we see, they all were bilingual or multilingual. We can name Kalidas, even Guru Nanak, Kabir, Vidyapati, Namdev, right? As you know, literature is a reflection of life, and the most important facet of literature in that case is a translation, because it is through translation literature has become very enriched. And we have the idea of world literature and national literature. Writers create national literature while translators create world literature. And if we see the earliest literary text, that is Sumerian poem Gilgamesh, that is the first translated version. And after that we have variety of Bibles translated from Hebrew, right? During the medieval period, if you see, translation of various texts had to introduce different genres in Indian literature. So in that way, Indian literature we can say has been strengthened during even medieval period. Since medieval period, it has been being strengthened through translation. During colonial period, Britishers generally, they for them they considered English as the highly superior language. But soon they realized that they had realization that if they want to influence people, right, then again they thought that they should understand local people and local language, right? And for that particular idea, then onwards there came a reverse movement, translation from local language to English. And in that sense only, it was Sir William Jones who first translated Abhigyan Shakuntalam, and Charles Wilkins translated Bhagavad Gita. And during this only, Bible was translated in various language. And at that time only, the concept of fidelity to original and notion of equivalence were first introduced to Indian sensibility, thinking that Bible is God's word and one should not do any kind of improvisation and distortion to language. Right? So translation in that case helped a lot to promote the growth of indigenous literature and knowledge, and not only that, by bringing into our languages the great wealth of other literatures and cultures. So Indian literature is in that way enriched through the translation of renowned works of global writers as well as our on national writers, and new trends in the world literature, right, actually were first introduced by many renowned writers. Like we can name many here, like Shakespeare, Homer, Dante, Vyas, Valmiki, Kalidas, Vas, right, Kafka, Samuel Beckett, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, right, Thomas Mann, Gabriel Garcia, right, and Pamuk, J.M. Coetzee, right, Pablo Neruda, and many more. So in that case, translation has enriched our culture as well as our language, and at the same way through translation our literature and culture, right, has reached to the global canvas. Thank you.